Hello friends, I am Arpit and I'm here with today's analysis. Today is 31st of July and we are going to deal with two very important topics which are in news. Kerala landslides. Now these landslides have wiped off three villages. More than 100 people have died and the count definitely can increase. Search and rescue operations are on. The armed forces teams have been deployed and the governments, both the state and the center, are working collectively to restore the situation. But the larger question and the tougher question is, are these kind of disasters man-made or are these kind of disasters escalated due to man-made activities over there? Well, these certain questions, they will have to be answered by the governments in the aftermath of these kind of disasters. And then we have a list of extreme weather events in India that has claimed lives. This ranges from floodings, from heat waves to glacial lake outbursts in the recent past. And then we'll go on to the MCQs and then we'll discuss the MCQs of yesterday. So Kerala landslides, 122 deaths as landslides flatten Wayanad villages. This was the headline in today's The Hindu. And there are three villages which have been flattened. This is basically a rescue operation going on in a place over there only. Talking about the geographical location of Wayanad, this is in the northeastern part of, I would say, Kerala. So it is like the villages in Wayanad that were hit by multiple landslides on Tuesday. Churalmala, and it is basically that village which was the most impacted. So if I talk about Kalpetta, Churalmala and Attamala, these three villages were the ones which were most impacted, and these three villages were in the southern part of the Wayanad district, as we can see over here. But yes, it is indeed very tragic. The scenes are horrific. The entire villages, they have been submerged due to the slipping of that land. Now, what exactly happened? The government has identified a waterlogged hillock of 6 kilometers from the villages, which abutted the Iruvani-Poza river as the origin of landslide. So this hillock was the origin of landslide, which rebutted or abutted this particular river. The first landslide exactly occurred at 2 a.m., the second at 4 a.m. These landslides flattened the villages and plunged into the swollen river, changing its course and flooding the neighboring areas. Was there any weather prediction alert for this region? Yes, there was an orange alert as per the Chief Minister of Kerala. Now, two things we need to know over here as aspirants. One is the color coding alerts with respect to weather events. Second is that Kerala, as part of Western Ghats, is there is this ecologically sensitive zones declared over there. What are ecologically sensitive zones? We will see. What are these color codings? We shall see first. So from this list, color coding with respect to heavy rainfall or snowfall, green color is no heavy rainfall. Yellow is heavy rainfall, that is 64.5 to 115.5 mm per 24 hours. Then we have orange, that is very heavy rainfall, and this was the alert for Wayanad, 115.6 to 204.4 mm in 24 hours. So rainfall definitely had to be there in this, but this rainfall could lead to such kind of disaster. That you know became the major issue, because when rainfalls keep on happening, the soils become moist, the soils become soft as well, and they are more prone to slips or landslips or this landslides. This also happens. Then color coding with respect to thunderstorm, squall or hailstorm is also there. With respect to dust storms, there is also this color coding. So for various disasters, color coding is there, and for rainfall, this is basically the orange alert which was there. What the steps have been taken for this particular region as of now? Immediate steps: heavy engineering equipment and rescue dog teams were being airlifted. Disaster relief teams had been dispatched by the Indian Coast Guard to provide aid to people after a series of landslides in the hilly areas of Wayanad district in Kerala. Indian Armed Forces swung into immediate action. 300 military personnel were moved forthwith to commence rescue operations. During the day, additional columns of army, naval teams, and helicopters from Air Force were mobilized to assist the rescue and relief efforts. And above all these, uh, personnel being deployed over there from the armed forces, there is this team of NDRF and SDRF which is already stationed there. But it is very difficult to, bring out dead bodies from that, Malaba. And it is said that, sniffer dogs are being called upon, which can smell and identify the bodies. Now, downstream in a river, there was an incident where multiple body parts were found. So many people definitely have been missing. They don't know. We actually don't know who is dead, who is alive right now. And more than 100 people are dead as per the official tolls. This toll definitely can increase as well. Dedicated medical teams have been deployed in the medical to give medical aid as well in this region. Now, the Indian Defense Minister has clearly stated that, whatever help has to be given, we will be giving it. The Indian Prime Minister has personally talked to the Chief Minister of the state, saying that no stone will be left unturned. Already, you know, an ex gratia of 2 lakh rupees to the next kin of the deceased has been announced by the central government, and 50,000 to the injured person by the central government. State government compensations will be separate. But yes, one thing is that both the central and the state governments are collectively tackling this. Yesterday, there was a lot of discussions on this in the parliament as well, where the MPs were demanding to increase the compensation to the deceased, to label this disaster as a national disaster, because Wayanad happens to be the constituency from where the leader of opposition, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, comes from, or he was elected from. Now, did Kerala do anything wrong? Wrong here means any human activity which was over and above, which led to this disaster being or becoming of this magnitude. This disaster could have been of a lesser magnitude, but due to the activities of the people over there or the government over there, the you know degree of this disaster amplified. So we have to assess this. And assessment is difficult over here, but we have a viewpoint of a noted ecologist named as Dr. Madhav Gadgil. What he has to say and what connection does he have with Kerala, we will understand this. Now, ecologist Madhav Gadgil, who was the chairman of Western Ghats Ecological Expert Panel, has termed the disaster in Wayanad as a man-made tragedy. So, Madhav Gadgil was the chairman of this Western Ghats Ecological Experts Panel, which was formed for, recommending the government for better restoration of the Western Ghats. And uh, he gave certain recommendations which were not accepted by the government. His recommendations were too much pro ecological conservation and anti development. Probably that's why the government did not accept his recommendations, and in spite, formed another committee under Mr. Kasturi Nangan and asked him for recommendations. His recommendations were kind of, towards pro development and less of, ecological conservation. So those recommendations were accepted. Now he is saying to the government that you did not accept my recommendations. Mr. Madhav Gadgil is saying that you did not accept my recommendations, and that is why I'm, you know, this disaster in Wayanad is a man-made disaster, attributing it to the Kerala government's failure to implement crucial ecological recommendations. Mr. Gadgil criticized the state government for not adhering to the panel's guidelines designed to prevent such disasters amid extreme climate change happening. His panel's report had classified the region into three levels of ecological sensitivity. First of all, he labeled the entire region as ecologically sensitive. Entire region means entire Western Ghats. And then he further divided the levels of ecological sensitivity. Ecological sensitive zone 1, ecological sensitive zone 2, ecological sensitive zone 3. Ecological sensitive zone was the most sensitive among the rest two zones. And he says that Wayanad, the place where disaster has happened, was categorized under the most sensitive zones. He has said 1. His panel's report had classified the region into three levels of ecological sensitivity, with areas now struck by disaster being marked as highly sensitive. So that was highly sensitive. no development should have taken place in these areas. But developments have taken place in these areas. What types of development activities happen in these areas? So if we go from the beginning, so Britishers came, they developed, tea estates over there. That is in line with the development which can happen in ecologically sensitive zones, because that is contributing to ecology or ecological conservation, not an activity which is anti of that. So these zones had been utilized for tea plantations during the British period. That was not a problem. It had since seen extensive developments, including construction of resorts and artificial lakes in the region. That was a problem. Mr. Gadgil said that the presence of quarries is where sand mining is done. And to do sand mining, you have to do certain blasts. Those blasts definitely have tremors which spread in the nearby regions. So there were queries earlier. Those queries now are non-functional. They have stopped functioning. But during the time when they were functioning, there were multiple blasts in those queries, and those blasts led to various vibrations, spread of vibrations. That could have led to weakening of the mountains over there. And now that culminated into these disasters. That is why, Mr. Gadgil is saying that this is a man-made disaster. Though these quarries were now defunct, the shock waves caused during their operational period could have extended the disaster-stricken areas. These quarries were operating a few kilometers from the disaster site, which has happened right now, and had further exacerbated the situation. So this is what Mr. Gadgil is saying. Although these queries are not working now, and that also happened on the recommendations of Mr. Gadgil, which were not accepted. And later on, Kasturi Rangan committee also recommended that these queries should stop, and then they stopped. But the question is, why did the state governments allow these queries to function over there? Chalo, what are ecologically sensitive zones? You have to understand that, because we've been talking about these two committees who have talked about ecological sensitive zones. So we'll see about what are eco-sensitive zones first, and then we will also go into the recommendations of these two committees. What were the differences in the recommendations? As per the National Wildlife Action Plan 2002 to 2016, issued by Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, land within 10 kilometers of boundaries of national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Wildlife sanctuaries or national parks are called as protected areas, where human activity is limited or zero. It is restricted. Now, once the boundaries of these, national parks and all, though this dark green which you are seeing over here is a protected area, it can be a wildlife sanctuary or a national park. And if you come just outside of this national park, you start doing all the activities over there, that is not acceptable. So there should be, certain, justifiable transitions. You can do activities over here, but just outside the boundary you're doing all the activities, that should not be acceptable. And these zones, the light green ones which you are seeing over here, were classified as ecologically sensitive zones. What is the width? Width, it was recommended as 10 kilometers, but there were protests in Kerala only that this width should reduce because people wanted to do economic activities. So Supreme Court in 2022 said minimum 1 kilometer eco-sensitive zone to should be there. So minimum 1 kilometer, maximum it can be beyond 10 kilometers also, but generally it is 10 kilometers in all the national parks and wildlife sanctuaries across the country. While the 10-kilometer rule is implemented as a general principle, the extent of its application can vary. It can be more or less also. In case of Kerala, it is only 1 kilometer. In the T.N. Godavarman case of 2022 in Supreme Court, it was declared. Areas beyond 10 kilometers can also be notified by the union government as ESZs, ecologically sensitive zones, if they hold larger ecological important sensitive corridors. So it can be beyond 10 kilometers also, but minimum 1 kilometer it has to be there. Like in case of Kerala, it is 1 kilometers. Now, why are they created ecologically sensitive zones? So in a nutshell, in a broader view, I have told you that you cannot just start doing all the activities once you are crossing that boundary of the protected area. There should be a justified transition. So, according to the guidelines issued by the Environment Ministry on February 9, 2011, ESZs are created as shock absorbers for the protected areas to minimize the negative impact of the fragile ecosystems. In protected area, everything is protected, and just outside of it, everything is happening. So that is not justified. So shock absorbers means whatever activities are happening, there should be some buffer areas. Buffer areas means these ecologically sensitive zones, so that things do not impact the wildlife or the flora and fauna in the protected areas. This was the main logic behind it. Limited amount of activities are permitted in the ecologically sensitive zones, not all. These areas are meant to act as transition zone from areas requiring higher protection to those requiring lesser protection. Permitted and prohibited activities. Activities prohibited in ESZ are commercial mining, sawmills, commercial use of wood, etc. Apart from regulated activities like felling of trees is regulated over there. There are permitted activities like ongoing agricultural or horticultural practices, rainwater harvesting, organic farming, among others. These are permitted activities. Obviously, they will be permitted because they do not have a negative, impact on the environment. Now, what are the recommendations of the Gadgil and the Kasturirangan committee with respect to the Western Ghats and with respect to the ecologically sensitive zones? So, first of all, Gadgil committee. Western Ghats is a natural ecosystem which is also there in the UNESCO World Heritage List. Has it to be protected? Yes, it has to be protected. The Gadgil committee, Mr. Madhav Gadgil, declared that entire region, Western Ghats, which starts from, southern Gujarat and ends in Kerala, as ecologically sensitive zones. He then further classified 3 subzones in that region. Those recommendations of the Gadgil committee were too much pro-ecological conservation and anti-development, but obvious the government did not accept it. So let us see what were the recommendations. Indefinite moratorium on new environmental clearances for mining in ecologically sensitive zones. No new clearances for mining should be given. Phase out of all chemical pesticides within 5 years to 8 years and plastic bags in 3 years in that region. Justifiable because this is having negative impact. Continuing existing mining in ecologically sensitive zone 2 under strict regulation with an effective social audit mechanism. So in the less ecologically sensitive zones, mining activities can be continued but with strict regulations. It is not like you do anything and everything over there. Prohibited new red and orange category industries such as coal-based power plants in ecologically sensitive zones 1 and 2. So those were prohibited. Cultivation of genetically modified crops was banned in the entire region. Only one genetically modified crop is cultivated, that is cotton. That was banned. No new special economic zones or hill stations, dams, railway lines, or major roads in ecologically sensitive zones 1 and 2 areas. Last was ban on conversion of public lands to private lands and on diversion of forest land for non-forest purpose in ESZ1 and ESZ2 areas. So ESZ1 was more, I would say, was needing more protection, where Wayanad is, where the disaster has happened. ESZ2 was needing less protection, ESZ3 needing lesser protection or the least protection. So this was Gadgil committee's recommendation. Kasturi Rangan committee was formed after Gadgil committee. What did Kasturi Rangan committee recommend? It recommended only 37% area should be classified as ecologically sensitive area in Western Ghats. So 37% of area of Western Ghats should be classified as ecologically sensitive zones. The report categorized areas on the basis of their ecological sensitivity. Activities affecting the ecology negatively were to be banned or restricted in highly sensitive zones. The same he was also saying. Opined that the blanket prescription approach of the Gadgil committee would be harmful to the economy. The blanket prescription means entire Western Ghats is ecologically sensitive zone. That is the blanket prescription. He said that this is going to be harmful for the economy. And that is why only 37% classified as ecologically sensitive areas. Mining, quarrying, sand mining, thermal power plants, township and areas, development projects, red industries were banned. He also recommended banning quarrying, mining and all. That is why those quarries and all which were functional earlier are now banned. Hydroelectric power projects were based only at those places where they have been a standard ecological flow of 30% and were restricted otherwise. Orange category industries like food processing industries were not banned, but careful process and production techniques were prioritized to minimize environmental damage. Infrastructure projects related to transport to be approved only after cumulative impact assessment, else not. So, a bit of watered down recommendations favoring economic activities, but yes, it is not like ignoring ecological sensitivity totally. Banning of mining, quarrying, and all has been recommended. Safely assessing about the hydroelectric power projects and other things also has been there. So it was kind of a balanced recommendation. That is why this was accepted by the government. The next topic, list of recent extreme weather events in India, which has caused a lot of problem. Even loss of life. Loss of property though definitely has happened, but yes, loss of life has also happened. And the first is heat waves, floods in Delhi. Heavy rains caused floods in the capital New Delhi in June. This happened during the swearing in ceremony of the MPs and all. Following weeks of extreme heat, the heat was unbearable. The heat waves, the temperatures touching, 50 degrees Celsius. And that led to loss of a lot of things. So, I've told this earlier as well that one day I was going up or approaching my car. A pigeon was dead over there near besides my car, died due to heat, extreme heat. So that was the thing. Torrential rains caused a fatal airport roof collapse in June, claiming life of one cab driver in Delhi. This happened in Delhi airport. And this is very saddening. And, let us, be united in this cause. Three of, you students who were preparing for UPSC civil servants, they died due to flooding of a basement of a coaching center in Delhi. Was it an extreme weather event? Yes, it rained heavily, but was it avoidable? Definitely yes. It was due to the negligence of multiple stakeholders involved. Government agencies definitely involved, like the local body or local governments over there, which are responsible for sewer cleaning and all. And that is not new, a new thing that waterlogging used to happen in that region. Years after years, I have been seeing it personally. Last year, my car was also damaged over there. Then, second of all, were was the basement meant for that library? Definitely not. What should be the way forward from here? Obviously, we cannot bring back those three students. But yes, what should be the way forward? Way forward should be strict actions on the government, proactive governance. The students should get at least in tune with what they are paying. Students have been also demanding the relaxation on the rent, exorbitant rent which they are paying, and the level of habitations they are having. They are pathetic. These also have come into picture right now. But yes, there was negligence, no doubt about the fact. Politicians are playing the blame game. There's no benefit of this to us, at least, whether being the teacher fraternity or the students. And I, on behalf of entire, Vajirao and IAS, Vajirao and Reddy IAS team, I definitely stand with you guys. And what is wrong, and we have to stand by that. So this happened. Heavy rains and thunderstorms in Mumbai. In May, thunderstorms caused a billboard to collapse in the financial capital Mumbai, which claimed at least lives of at least 14 people. Flash floods in July disrupted transportation in Mumbai. River overflow in Assam. Several rivers swelled up in Assam state in the northeast in July after seasonal monsoon rains, triggering floods and landslides that killed at least 79 people and displaced thousands. More than 150 animals, including rare one-horned rhinoceros, drowned the state's Kaziranga National Park. So this happened over there in Assam. Then talking about cyclone in southern India, a severe cyclone hit India's southeastern coast in December 2023 after torrential rains and flooding killed at least 13 people. And cyclones in the month of December are rare, but with the advent of global warming or climate change, anything is happening. Sustained downpours in Tamil Nadu state in the subsequent days led to inundated neighbors. roads, and railways and killed at least 31 people. Himalayan glacial lake outburst. Himalayan glacial lake outburst. Its bank in October 2023. A lake in the state of Sikkim. It overflew. Ice melted. It overflew. Water came into the Tista River. Flash floods. It claimed the lives of many people, including some army jawans which were there. So this happened. We covered this in October last year. Landslide sweeps power projects. Landslide 20 kilometers, a landslide 20 kilometers away from the second highest peak in the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand in February 2021, left more than 200 dead, triggered flash floods, and swept away two hydroelectric power projects. Massive loss of infrastructure. Landslides near Mumbai. Landslide in July 2023 flattened several homes in a village in Mumbai or near Mumbai, killing at least 27 and trapped scores of residents over there. Floods in Kerala. Southern states of Kerala witnessed its worst floods of the century in 2018, killing at least 373 people and displaced 1.2 million people. This is a substantial number. And now this landslide tragedy which has happened in the state of Kerala only. So these extreme weather events will be increasing in the future due to climate change. We as humans need to be prepared first of all. We as humans need to adapt ourselves. Governments need to build disaster resilient infrastructure. And the least of all, we should be not doing certain activities which are negatively impacting the environment, which is making the ecology more fragile of that region, because becoming more fragile means, you know, making the degree of those disasters exacerbate. We should not digging a graves for ourselves at least. It is high time we understand this. If not, then nature has its own way of dealing with us, and we can see that. Now comes the MCQs. Landslides occur due to which of the following reasons? Weak topography, high soil moisture, mining and quarrying by humans. Carefully answer the question. The correct combination, only one and two, only two and three, or all of the above. Which of these rivers do not flow in Kerala? Iruvanipuza, Periyar, Kaveri, Kabini. Simple, did not deal with this, but yes, common sense, if you apply, if you have that idea of the maps, you'll be able to answer that. Consider the following statements with respect to eco-sensitive zones and mark how many of them are correct. They act as shock absorbers for the protected areas. They can extend anywhere from 1 kilometer to 10 kilometer or even beyond that. Sawmills are allowed to function in ESZs. Which of these statements are correct? Only one, only two, all the statements are correct, or none of the statements are correct. And the last question, which of the statements with respect to recommendations by Madhav Gadgil committee are true? The committee declared entire Western Ghats as ecologically sensitive zones. Mining was to be allowed in certain less fragile parts of the region. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. Now, yesterday's MCQs, we shall discuss the answers to this. Consider the following statements and mark the correct one. Oil spills can be a man-made and natural disaster. Yes, it can be man-made and it can be a natural disaster. This was explicitly mentioned. Oil spills can have long-term impact on ecology of a region. Yes, the Exxon Valdez oil spill in the Alaska region definitely is having or impacting presently also, which has been testified by studies of the US Geological Survey as well. So both 1 and 2 are correct. C is going to be the correct answer. Exxon Valdez oil spill happened in which ocean? This I did not discuss explicitly, but yes, I told you it happened in the Alaska region, which happens to be in the Pacific Ocean. So A is going to be the correct answer of this question. Which of the following designers has designed the outfit for Indian contingent for Olympics 2024? Very simple, very straight. If I do not discuss the answer of this question, tab bhi chalega. But yes, as a formality, Tarun Tahiliani is the answer of this particular question. Consider the following statements and mark the correct one. Oropouch fever is endemic to Brazil. No, this is not endemic to Brazil. This is endemic to South America and Central America. Oropouch fever is a viral disease which can be fatal. Yes, this statement is true because we've seen the first ever death due to Oropouch fever in Brazil, where two girls aged 30 years or less have died. So this statement as of now stands true. Okay. If this statement would have been asked by me in the previous month or the previous year, the statement would have been wrong. But now, because of those deaths, definitely it is fatal. So B is going to be the correct answer. And now the last question. Consider the following statements about oral pouch fever and mark how many of them are correct. Oral pouch fever is a viral disease. This is correct. It can be transmitted from humans to humans. This is wrong because there has been no instance as of now where human to human transmission has been witnessed. It is transferred via mosquitoes or bugs. There is no specific treatment known as of now for this disease. This statement is true. No antiviral drug, no vaccine has been developed for this. Only the symptoms are treated, which stay for a week and then they dissipate. So, two statements are correct. So, B is going to be the correct answer or correct option for this. Now, with this, we come to an end of today's session, and I will be seeing you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. We've ended the month of July as well, and very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Keep watching the videos, keep attempting the questions, stay safe, and stay healthy. Namaste. Jai Hind.